I thought we should start this segment by just sort of looking at the the impact of demographics on the economy and on the budget.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start with the budget. I think Concord does some work on the budget, don't they?
Yeah, we sometimes dabble in the budget.
Okay. Well, graying means paying. It means paying more for pensions, more for healthcare, more for social services and especially long-term care for the frail elderly. Falling fertility, together with rising life expectancy, translates into a higher age dependency ratio, right, of the ratio of elderly to working age adults. And all other things being equal, a higher age dependency ratio translates directly and proportionally into a higher tax rate for pay-as-you-go benefit programs like Social Security and Medicare. On the retirement side, it's fairly straightforward. You've got that, more retirees relative to workers, the cost rate goes up. In healthcare, you've got additional kickers, right? Not only do you have more elderly relative to more workers, but the elderly per capita spend 3 times as much as the non-elderly, or consume 3 times as much in healthcare services, and 20 times as much in long-term care services. So demographics has that big extra kicker potentially on healthcare growth. We already are facing an unsustainable fiscal outlook. The recent deterioration in the demographic outlook for the United States, with the decline in fertility rates and decline in immigration, and consequent likely greater aging of the population, will just make this unsustainable outlook even more unsustainable. That's the budget. The economy is a little more complicated, but we can jump into that if you want.
Sure. It has something to do with falling workforce growth, I think. And
well,
it's more complicated than that too. But
we're talking about fewer babies. Well, fewer babies eventually means fewer workers, relatively speaking. So declining fertility translates into, over time, slower growth in the working age population. Slower growth in the working age population, all other things being equal, all other things here being labor force participation rates by age. But slower growth in the working age population translates into slower growth in employment. Slower growth in employment translates into slower growth in GDP. It's really just simple arithmetic. The working age population, as recently as the 1990s and early 2000s, was growing at 1.5% per year. It's now growing at 2% per year. And the CBO projects it'll be growing at between 0.2 and 0.3% per year out through the 2050s and beyond. Unless something else changes, that translates, that 1.2 percentage point difference, right, between the prior growth rate in the working age population and the projected one, that knocks 1.2% off of potential GDP growth. And that's what the CBO projections show as well. And basically, we'll be growing in the future at half the rate, half of our post-war average. And that's optimistic.
And that's the real negative feedback loop that I don't think gets enough attention, is that the slower growing economy is going to have to provide the goods and services to sustain a rising elderly population. And that's really a terrible combination.